What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Paul with Liberty Hill Comics, where I share my passion and over 40 years of experience comic book collecting, investing, and conservation with you. Today, we're beginning a new short conservation project for this copy of Fantastic Four number 17, published by Marvel Comics in August of 1963, when the Marvel Age was just getting into swing. This is not a big key issue. It is already the fifth appearance of Doctor Doom, as Stan Lee and Jack Kirby established him very early on as the arch foe of the FF. But it is a very cool Silver Age comic by the definitive Fantastic Four creative team. It's 60 years old now, and it needs a little bit of our help making sure it survives the next 60 years. This copy belongs to a friend of the channel, and we're going to assess it today and get to work on this new project. But before we get to our main topic, I want to remind everyone that we are closing in on our goal of 1,000 subscribers. And in appreciation of subscribers new and old, I'm giving away this copy of Star Wars #1 in CGC 7.5 with white pages. This is the first appearance of Luke, Leia, Vader, R2, 3PO, and a host of others, as well as the first cover appearance of Obi-Wan and Han Solo. It was published 6 weeks before A New Hope opened in theaters in 1977. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and follow the link over to that video to comment there for a chance to win. Whenever I begin a new conservation project, I always follow a disciplined approach. This is the only way we can know exactly what we did and build our portfolio of conservation skills and complete investigations when things go awry. I start with the 9-step comic book conservation process that I developed after studying the paper conservation literature and applying the techniques I learned there to comic books. If you haven't checked out my video breaking the process of comic book conservation down, I recommend you follow the link over there for a good basic understanding of the overall process, which begins with a detailed assessment and documentation. So let's get to work. I have the comic book on my hobby mat. I have clean and dry hands, and we're just going to start to go through the book. I note first that the staples are on the front. They're not perfectly positioned on the spine. That does create stress lines on the front cover. Those are color breaking. There's nothing we can do about them. We've got a little, looks like a piece missing there, but we'll look at the other side. In fact, it's just a little flap, so that's relatively straightforward for us to repair, which is nice. You saw there that there was also a white spot, like a water spot, on the inside of the cover. It's more obvious than it is on the obverse. There's several of those on the cover, both here on the front and on the back cover. The interior of the book looks nice. The paper quality is good. It's supple. Inks are nice. It's a joy to just be able to thumb through a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby collaboration and not find a whole bunch of problems. Speaking of, here's our biggest problem on the interior. We have this tear. It's over an inch long. It turns out this page is the centerfold. Let's do a investigation of the staples. The staples look very good. They are positioned on the front of the book rather than perfectly on the spine, as we pointed out, but there's no rust. Nice 60-year-old patina. There's no weakness in the staples or in the metal. So this book should be a dream to disassemble and to do the work that we need to do. I get a fair number of requests from folks that want me to show off more of the art and story of the comic books during these conservation videos. While generally that is not what these videos are about, I do unboxings and other videos for that purpose. Sometimes you just have to stop and smell the old paper. So here is a nice pan of this dynamic 6-panel layout of the Invisible Girl battling Doctor Doom as only the king could give us. Overall, this comic book is in pretty good shape. It is showing its 60 years, but the paper is all there. It's in good shape. It's not overly tanned. It certainly isn't brittle. You can see this color's pretty good. There are, on the back, a few little tears as well. And then we have these water spots, which in fact, there are quite a number of. And like I said, they're most obvious on the reverse of the cover, both the front and back. And we'll see if we can decrease their obviousness. Here's a small tear out on the top edge as part of our project. This is a little ink smudge. We'll see if we can do anything about that. The paper on the cover has really good reflectivity, and overall it's a really nice book. We can check out some of those flaws that we saw from the inside here on the outside. Water stains, a little bit less obvious here, but more obvious than they are on the front cover. There is some soiling on this cover as well, which is more obvious here on the back cover owing to the lack of all the colored ink areas. All this white really shows that soiling off. Also note that this comic book has a significant spine roll, which is something we should correct during our conservation process. I take stills during my assessment process to document the state of the comic before I begin any work. And one of the tools you can use for your assessment is to take some still images in strong incident light, or what CGC calls raking light. This is the best way to visualize all of the flaws of a comic book, and in fact, this is how CGC grades your comic books. When you see a comic book head-on, especially in mediocre lighting, you cannot see all of the flaws that will jump out at you in strong incident light. I think improper use of light is one of the reasons many people feel robbed by CGC when they get grades back that are much lower than they expected. When they assessed the grade prior to submission to CGC, they were using light that hid many of the flaws of the comic book, while CGC uses strong incident light during their grading process that shows off these flaws. To develop your conservation skills, you need to be your own biggest critic, so learn to use the same light that CGC will be using when they assess your comic books. This lighting demonstrates that although this comic book presents well to the casual observer with a head-on view, indeed it has been well loved and has many defects that the incident light highlights. Incident light not only brings wrinkles and creases to your attention, it will show you surface imperfections such as dents, impressions due to writing, and any foreign substance on the cover that might otherwise not be obvious with straight-on lighting. Another thing it highlights very well is the quality of the surface gloss. Here you can see on the back cover we have a very large disruption in the gloss that would not show up at all in traditional straight-on images, but is obvious to a collector or dealer that handles the book, and is the difference between a comic book that presents well and one that gives the impression of being well worn during inspection. This is where we conservators can really shine, because if we're able to address the loss of gloss in our conservation process, the before and after images in the incident light will show a dramatic improvement in this beloved collectible. So after a complete assessment and discussion with the owner of the book, here is our game plan. First, I'll disassemble the book and then complete a dry clean of the cover, both the verse and the reverse. Then, we'll do a quick wet clean of the cover and the centerfold with deacidification and chemical stabilization, and archival tear seals using Japanese paper and wheat paste. The rest of the pages do not require washing or tear seals, so we'll keep our wash quick so that we don't have a dramatic difference in the paper quality between the centerfold and the rest of the inner wraps. After that, we'll cold press and dry the pages we wet cleaned and mended, and assess the loss of gloss on the back cover. Then, We'll remove the spine roll from the rest of the inner wraps before reassembling this comic book, refolding it, and giving it a final press. Then we'll complete our conservation project by documenting the outcomes of our work. I'm going to wrap up this video here and try shorter, more frequent episodes for our conservation series of this copy of Fantastic Four number 17. I sincerely appreciate you joining me today for the kickoff of this conservation project of this Silver Age gem. Most of the materials I will use for this conservation project are available from Amazon in the affiliate links in the description if you need any of them for your own conservation projects. Next episode will drop soon, so stay tuned and turn notifications on for the channel so you don't miss it. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until next time, take care of one another.